Right guys, so today we're going looking at the differences between our sandy soils and our clay soils. Okay, so I've drawn a little diagram here, so hopefully you can see that we have a sandy soil whose particle size are large soil particles. So these little orange blobs are representing me size of me particles, and then we have our clay soil, which is small soil particles. So your clay soil particles are going to be more compact together. So we'll see how this diagram is going to influence the different characteristics of our soils. Okay, so in this table we're going looking at the differences between our sandy soils and clay soils in regards to drainage, aeration, waterlogging or droughting, and soil fertility. Okay, so with our drainage, so for our sandy soils, they are going to have good drainage due to the large pore spaces and the large soil particles of a sandy soil. So imagine here, if our rain starts pouring down, our water particles are going to be very easily able to move through our sandy soil, and therefore giving the soil good drainage characteristic, that there'll be very little chance of waterlogging in good sandy soils. Imagine when you're at the beach and the tide comes in, you never see the water sitting on top of the sand. Okay, the water moves down very quickly because sandy soils have large soil particles. In regards to clay soils, if it starts raining, which it does a lot, the water isn't going to be able to infiltrate or move down through the clay soil particles because they're too small and too compact together. So our clay soils are going to have poor drainage and are going to be prone to waterlogging. Okay, so imagine if the rain starts keep coming down, it's going to be prone to waterlogging. And our sandy soils is going to be prone to drought. So naturally, when you think of the desert out in Africa, the Sahara Desert, you don't think that the weather conditions are going to be waterlogged. Okay, more than likely it's going to be drought. At our aeration, okay, so our aeration for our sandy soils and our clay soils, again very similar to our drainage. Air is very easily able to move throughout our sandy soils due to the large soil particles. Loads of space, loads of pore space in your sandy soils, therefore it's going to have good aeration. So good aeration due to the large pore space. And then your clay soils, the aeration again isn't going to be very good. Very hard for your air to move down through the clay soil due to the small soil particles. So therefore our clay soils is going to have poor aeration due to small pore space. And then lastly, we're going looking at our soil fertility. So which of these soils is going to be better able at retaining nutrients from whether it be fertilizers, farmyard manure, slurry, effluent, whatever you're spreading on the land. Which of these is going to be better at retaining nutrients? Okay, so imagine that these purple dots are going to be our nutrients and how good they are going to be at attaching to the soil particles. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. All these are nutrients, your nitrogens, your phosphoruses, your potassiums, carbons, anything that's going to be able to attach, your magnesiums, your calciums. You can see here that we have large soil particles in our sandy soils. Due to the surface area of our sandy soils, they are able to accumulate less nutrients in comparison to our clay particles. If each of them is able to take on 4 nutrients, clay soil should be more fertile than our sandy soil. So even though it is poorer in our drainage and aeration, it definitely is able to take on more soil nutrients that you're going to get from spreading your fertilizer, spreading your farmyard manure, spreading your slurry. Okay, so we'll fill in that. So our soil fertility in our sandy soils is going to be poor uptake of nutrients. So generally, again, going back to the desert, you don't see much growing in the desert. However, even in your clay soils, they will have a good uptake of nutrients. Again, your nitrogen, phosphorus, potassiums. So that is our conclusion of the differences between our sandy soils and our clay soils. Okay, looking at particle size, looking at drainage, looking at aeration, looking at waterlogging, looking at drought, and looking at soil fertility. In conclusion, your sandy soils are going to have better drainage, better aeration, prone to drought. And then your clay soils are going to be poor drainage, poor aeration, and prone to waterlogging. So really, the sandy soils is nearly 3 positives, the clay soils 3 negatives. However, the clay soils are going to be far better at taking up nutrients from the soil. Therefore, really, you don't want what the sandy soils and the clay soils are, two extremes. You want a mixture. So that's why tillage farmers, beef farmers will be looking for sandy clay soils. And again, we'll move on to it maybe in another video, where you have equal combinations of sand, silt and clay in your soils is known as a loam soil. So that is a bit of a description there of the differences between our sandy soil and our clay soil. Hopefully it makes sense, and any questions please comment below.